wena no General Sibiya enazi ukuthi immediately usho ukuthi slow or later nina nobabili futhi nihamba nobabili kuleyo nto leyo. Akuphathi kabi yini ukuthi Sibongo Somacingwane mhlambe kusukela namhlanje njengomuntu omkhulu kangaka uyosifaka ohlazweni mhlambe sigcine sisinalo lochashaza ukuthi hey labantu laba banamampunga baphika into ebhaliwe ibhasi elibhaliwe aliphike nje.
Ngicabanga ukuthi kulolo daba selixoxiwe lwafinyelela ekugcineni. Kodwa ke senginga-add nje ukuthi anything noma yini ehlukumeza isibongo sasemachuneni noma ngabe yini iqhama ngayiphi indlela njengoba noma yini ehlukumeza abantu besinye isibongo ingabaphatha kabi. So noma yini eqhamukayo engaphatha kabi isibongo sasemachuneni ingiphatha kabi or ingangiphatha kabi noma ngabe yini.
So ngaloko ke mphathi wami ucabanga ukuthi mhlawumbe ungalithatha lethuba ulisebenzisa ukuthi usho ukuthi cha lokuthi ngiqinisa ikhanda ngithi immediately uminisha lokho engaminishi lokho for the sake of isibongo sabantu bakithi angihloniphise ngijike leyo mpendulo. Ucabanga mhlawumbe lokho?
Cha, angikucabanga.
Hayi ngikunikele lelo thuba mphathi wami. How confident are you kuma skills and competency wakababa uGeneral Sibiya? Ngikubuza lokho ngoba in his competency report, specifically page 8 and 9, it says he failed. In his words, it was not positive.
Ikhona ichashaza okulibekayo uze kube sengathi ungathi he passed, and any other person at that level you would want to say pass. That's what you would want to hear whenever such things are spoken about. Kodwa mawusuza ukuthi kwaba khona into enjalo iba khona into ethi then what happened. Kodwa ke kuya ngokuthi yayinamandla angakanani leyo nto ukumnika noma ungamniki umsebenzi nokuthi kuya ngokuthi izinto ezazi ikhona lapho zazi namandla kangakanani phezulu kwalokho ngoba mhlambe kwakuyi out of 10.
I-confidence yakho kuyena ubaba uGeneral Sibiya ime kanjani since usuzwile ukuthi hayi azange be positive?
Umuntu ongaphendula ngqo kanjalo supervisor wakhe uGeneral Masimula. Mina ngakhuluma ngeka General Masimula umuntu engisebenza naye eduze kodwa I go deputy general, so go deputy commissioner abangeni kulolu hlalo ukuthi whether or not nginayo confidence ngoba aba supervisor aba supervisor national commission.
Mhlawumbe nalombuzo engizokubuza wona ngangangiphendula kodwa ngangiphendula but ngiyacela uzame. 2016 iDA no Mr. Herman Mashaba, they claim ukuthi ba-appointe Mr. Sibiya. Do you have any idea ukuthi why they concealed to the South Africans or from the South Africans ukuthi they hired a person who doesn't meet the competency requirements?
Inkinga nje ukuthi esengeke ngikuzwa ngabanye abantu nanjengoba kunale commission kodwa abantu abazi kahle abantu ababekhona ngesikhathi eqashwa ukuthi bazi kwakukhonani babhekane bathini ngalokho uma kwakukhona ibona bangakhuluma babe inkulumo yabo ibe nesiqi. Mina ngifika nje usengaphakathi uSibiya.
Mhlawumbe wena if bekuwena obuhleli lapha kulesa hlalo bongamthatha engaphasanga icompetence.
umbuzo wakho uyawubuza kuya ngokuthi vele yini ezokwenza ukuthi umuntu aqasheke noma angaqasheki. Uma kuwukuthi lokho kumile njengomgomo ukuthi kuyamphasisa noma kumphasisi, ngeke ukuthi engayiphasanga ubusuyamthatha, kodwa kuyiyo futhi into emile ekutheni uyadlula noma kadluli. So ngeke ngazi ukuthi le competency test okukhulunywa ngayo iyayimi kuphi eyintweni zonke ezazikhona.
Mhlawumbe njengomphathi phela ngenzela ukufunda nami ngizoba uminister ngelinye ilanga. Ucabanga ukuthi kulesi sihlalo esingaka noma kulezi ayitholile sidinga ukuthi umuntu icompetence yakhe ibe nayo mhlambe ingabe 100% or ngamthatha ngo98 ungamthatha ngo20 or ngamthatha
Generally ngokwe procedure noma ngokwenqubo umuntu mayese interviewile kusho ukuthi wayiface panel yamnikeza amamaki na yonke into nokuthi angaconsider ukuthi athathwe ilabo ofanele bamthathe baye bamuse kuyi competency test. Kusese kuyobhekwa ama skills athize. Uma ke ibuya ibisihlanganiso nokuthi kuthathwe ke isinqumo esiphelele ukuthi kwenzekani ngaye. Manje yikho nje ngithi angazi kahle ngoba ngangingekho ngesikhathi kwenziwa konke lokhu ukuthi yathi uma ibuye i-competency test inalokho bakufaka kusiphi isikali babona ukuthi kuyamvimba noma kuyamdlulisa base bethatha leso sinqumo. Kodwa ngokwenqubo nje kuqhutshwa kanjalo ukuthi after interview then competency test, and then emva kwalokho ke bese yabuya ke ezoconsider ke lo qondene ukuthi uyamthatha noma kamthatha ukuthi unumber bani kulabo abanye kade beinterviewa kuya kusetshenzwe kanjalo.
mhlawumbe ukuze ngiyithole impendulo Mhlonishwa angiyilungise la owakho umbuzo kuwe lo owuphendulayo uthi kwenziwa kanjani ukuze umuntu adlule emva kwe-interviews angene ku-competence bese kwenziwani. Owakho ke lo mbuzo oyibuze wena nawo uko wami ngicela ukuyilungisa and mgcini wesikhathi ungilungisela ungadli isikhathi sami ngombuzo ka-minister. Owami uthi if wena bokulesi mo salabantu abahleli ngale ubuzomcasha yini i-competence ingaphelelanga yini?
Uma ngabe i-competence inogcobo nani kuukuthi futhi lokho ikhona okumesangweni ukuthi uyadlula noma adlula. Uma ukuthi akadluli ngenxa lokho so bengeke. Kodwa uma kuukuthi uhlelo lwabo ukuthi cha lo muntu engaphasanga kodwa ke uyathathwa kuukuthi indlela abahlele ngayo ukuthi kuqashwana kanjani lapho kusho ukuthi ungamthatha ke uma ngabe kuukuthi akubalekile ukuthi uyayiphasa noma akayiphasi i-competency test. Nanokuthi uma usukuhlanganisa namamaki onke oku-interviewa ubhekisisa futhi nabanye uzokwazi nokumthatha noma uzomthatha. Kodwa kuye kube kuhle ukuthi nje kuphaseke konke. Akuyona into straightforward ukuthi you fail i-competence then ngoba angazi noma i-competence noma i-aspect yayo or sangikhuluma nje ngikuzohlwini kancane oswini kancane.
Mhlawumbe angazi noma ngichaze kanjani minister. Ubuye wena uyibuze yakhe imibuzo bese uyayiphendula ungayi kulo buzo emain. Ngake ngaba u-exam ama learners license. I-learners uyayiphasa or uyayifail. Uyabona ukuthi ufail kubuza umuntu athi ngifeyile nga1 ngifeyile kanti it's a pass or fail. So i-competence njalo i-pass ne-fail. In this regard, if you were sitting in that position, ubuzomthatha ubengengumthatha epass i-competence or efailile.
Manje kulukhuni ukuthi ngiphendule ngendlela ofuna ngayo ngoba usubuzile wona oqeda. Manje mase ngiphendula mina ofuna ukungalusa.
Cha angilungisa ngixolise mphathi wami.
Bese ngakwazi ukuphendula.
Ngenzela ukuthi
ngithi
uphendule lo ubuzwe yimina.
ngiyaphendula nje
Okay,
kahle
ma.
ngithi i-competency test abanye abantu baye bethi nomuntu eyifailile kodwa athathwe kuye ngokuthi i-criteria yabo lo kwenza ukuthi umuntu athathwe ukufeyila nokuphasa kuyingxenye into lokho abanye bathi ayi uyifeyilile i-competence kodwa yile ngxenye ye-competency test so singamthatha or ayi ufeyile le ngxenye ye-competency strong kakhulu ngeke aze athatheke or abanye bethi ayi babona ukuthi anga-improve something like that so kuye kube khona izinto akubi straight ukuthi oh fail competence then or pass competence angayiphasa futhi competence uthola ukuthi ngapha ku-interview ayikhona khambanga kahle then awusamthathi ke njalo kodwa enze kahle ngale competence so akuyona into straightforward as far as I know.
Asidlule mphathi. As a minister, laphaya esiphoyiseni wena obhekelele umthetho from cabinet. Are you allowed ukuphula imithetho noma kunezinto uma uphulile imithetho sithi hayi le ngoba iphula uminister singayibeka eceleni?
Cha, awuvumelekile ukuphula umthetho.
Singakwazi ukwenza lokho. Okay. Ngikubuza ngoba ngifuna sibheke impendulo zakhe endaweni eziningi. Did you give uNkabinde noma chief of staff uNkabinde an unlawful or illegal instruction to record Baba Mkhwanazi on the phone?
No, I gave him no instruction. I only made a suggestion to him.
Uyazikhumbula uthi kuyena ngimtshelile ukuthi abomrecorder.
Ngikhumbula ngithi ngathi he must consider.
Cishe ngaquleka ngamacingwane. Mhlambe singayibuyele emuva siyoyihlola mhlambe ngelinye ilanga. Kodwa ke wena in your words uthe umtshelile ukuthi aka record Mkhwanazi. Asibambeke ngale yakho ke indlela.
Okay.
Do you think umnikeze umbono oqondile yini ngale ndlela umnikeze ngawo? Mhlambe wacabanga ukuthi ngabe ukuthi umnikeze into illegal?
Cha akukho illegal ukuthi uma ngikhuluma nawe ngifisa ukuthi ngikurecord ngazathu simbe ongavumelekile ukudlulela kumuntu wesithathu ukuthi alalele nina nobabili bese ya recorda.
Njengoba sibaningi la mphathi wami njengoba uyidlulisile ke le voice note ubumtshelile ukuthi ngiyakurecorda noma uzokurecorda uNkabinde ngizoyidlulisa?
Hayi mina ngimrecordanga.
Usho ukuthi uNkabinde uyena ophule lo mthetho?
Wala ngazi noma uphulile.
Asibuyele emuva mphathi wami ungangishiyi. Ngiyakuthembela kakhulu kuwe ukuthi wena uphethe umthetho. Kodwa muzothi awazi noma uphulile. I-act ithini ngokurecordana? Lo mbono unikeze uNkabinde ukuthi ubomrecord uma ekhuluma nawe. Is that a lawful instruction, not also kusona instruction? Umbono omuhle yini lo?
Ukurecorda umuntu okhuluma naye wena akuyona into unlawful. Oku-unlawful ukuthi nithi nikhuluma nebabili bese bakhona umuntu on record.
Njengoba uNkabinde enzile.
Enze kuba
Wena.
Recorda mina sikhuluma naye.
Wena esikhuluma nawe la eParliament wena oze nayo. Uyithathe.
Angisezwa ke noma sikhuluma ngento eyodwa.
Sikhuluma nge-recording mphathi VN voice note. It's you who brought that VN to Parliament. Therefore that means Mkhwanazi uNkabinde took it somewhere and gave it to you. Then you become number 3. Is that what you are saying?
No, ngithi umthetho uphuleka uma abantu bekhuluma bese uqhamuke khoneni bese uyaba recorder.
Mhlambe yima ungakuzwa. Kulesi sigameko esenzakele. Are you saying ubaba uNkabinde lento ayenzile ukuthi a record ubaba uMkhwanazi engamtshelanga 1 bese 2 eyithatha ke le recording ayidlulisele kuwena which makes you number 3? Akenzanga into wrong according to you.
Uma urecorda inkulumo oyikhuluma nomuntu ngqo. Njengoba ngeke ngasho ngathi kukhona intombazane engangakhuluma nayo yangirekhoda ngingazi. Yayisihlela yonke indawo leyo nkulumo. Kodwa umthetho uthi uma ngabe lo okhuluma nawe ekurekhoda akuyona into yokuphula umthetho. Ngifuna ukugcina lapho nje, angifuni ukwanda.
Ngizodlula yabona ngalomthetho if bekuthiwa nje bekwenze bekuzocelela iveni imbe la ngaphandle mawuphuma uyigibelela iveni ngoba uphukile lo mthetho asingaye eceleni mphathi wami. So uyavuma ukuthi wena onikeze umbono namhlanje njengoba sowumbona that day beku instruction kunkabi into ukuthi akamrecord.
Cha ngaze ngimnikeze instruction.
Umnikeze umbono. Wena omnikeze. Did you not under oath say that awumazi uBrown siku committee?
Angaze ngisho ukuthi angimazi uBrown.
Mhla ka 5 March.
Hayi, angaze ngisho.
Wathi uyamazi?
uBrown.
First time ubuzwa ngoBrown.
Angaze ngisho ukuthi ngiyamazi uBrown ngomhla ka 5. Angaze ngisho futhi ukuthi angimazi. Ngathi akayona i-associate, in other words akayena umuntu engisondelene naye esibhema naye ugwayi. Ngaphika lokho kuphela.
Ngathi mosho yintsha lempendulo nginenhlanhla yokuthola impendulo ezintsha angizobhora abantu la phakathi.
Cha ngithi mhlonishwa idlalile la isayilalela ithi the person that General Mkhwanazi is talking about is not my associate. Isho kanjalo. Ekuqaleni comment yami ithi the person that was on the phone, the photograph that was on the phone, I responded by saying, I don't know this person. Ngachaza ukuthi kwangena uBrown lo, it was not Brown. So mangathi angimazi ngangasho yena uBrown. Kangisho umuntu owayesesithombeni ocingweni. Okwangena uBrown.
Lesithombe osinikwa ubani?
Ngangisinezwa enye insizwa okuthiwa umuzi ngem.
Mhla siku committee virtual bakhombisa isithombe.
Cha, angithi mina ngesikhathi siku committee ngase ngixoxela iCommittee into eyake yenzeka kumina ngelinye ilanga ngikwe ekisendaweni ethize. Ngihlangana nomuntu ethi khona umuntu onje kanje ohambe ekhuluma ukuthi ngase ngithi lo muntu ubani lo muntu ngaze ngathi awungikhombise uma ungasithola isithombe bongikhombisa wase ngikhombisa ke emva kokufuna hayi ukuthi sasikhona isithombe eParliament kwangekho sithombe eParliament ngangixoxa indaba xoxela iCommittee istory sokuqala engasixoxa ngase ngixoxe sesibili story somuntu wangifonela ethi kunomuntu ngapha eWitbank ohambe ethi ukoleka imali ethi umfowethu omncane ongilamayo ngase ngichaza ukuthi hayi ayikho into enjalo ngoba usahamba emhlabeni. So kwakuzitori zami nje lezo ezimbili.
Kona uqinisile minister istory hayi uphiwe. Uyakhumbula uthi uprincipal we-issue yakacwecwe usethathile ama blood test waphinde wena futhi wajika wathi no akawathathanga?
Yes, ngiyakhumbula.
Uyakhumbula iviki elidlule usibizile wasibeka la phansi wathi wena une recording eveza ubufakazi bokuthi ubaba uMkhwanazi ukuthreatenishile?
Cha ngithe kune recording engifisa ukuthi iParliament lizwe or iCommittee lizwe la khona kune recording ethize ngase ngichaza ke uma ingasenzeki leyo nto ukuthi kube kuphi la kube khona inkinga. So ngakusasa.
Askes baba?
Ngakusasa.
So sisesokhuluma ke ngalento yale voice note. Ngizama ukuza nepattern yokuthi amahlandla amaningi minister uvamise ukuthi ngathi kuyayiphumela la kuwena uvela uphendule bese ngelinye ilanga ubuye uzoyishintsha lempendulo uphendule ubuye awuyi research yini mhlawumbe into oyibuza noma uyiphendula bese uzobona
Chair,
phambili.
can I raise a point of order?
Kunjalo.
Yes, Chair, with due respect to Mkhwanazi Ushong. And I would sympathize with you, Chair, as well, because you may not fully understand Zulu. But when somebody says, kusho ukuthi la kuwena kuyasiphumela, what is meant is that, one, you are just talking without even thinking. So somebody is just saying something which is not a reflection of a working brain. I mean, it's like somebody, let me make another example. Makutwa, when they say kuyasiphumela, it's like somebody who can't even control themselves when they need to go to the bathroom to pee. They just release the pee along the way to the bathroom. In Zulu, it's right in that context. So I don't think it's correct for the honorable member to say to the minister, la kuwena kuyasiphumela nje. I would like to suggest that he doesn't use that language. Thanks. Must withdraw it, in fact.
I think Chair umhlonishwa ngokukhulu kuyithoba. Angibonga ukungikhuza wakho ukukhuza abantu abadala isibusiso ngesinto. Ungivimbe engakaqeda ukukhuluma ngisathi mhlambe kayiphumela ungakayenzi research. Mhlambe le part ethi research akayizwanga. But mawukuthi izwakele kabi ngiyixolisela. But ngibuza ukuthi kuyiphumela kunga researchwanga yini. Ngiyayixolisela.
You apologize.
It is an apology.
You heard what he said, Honorable Minister.
Clearly. I have no problem with the
And
apology.
the context that is being given is the correct context.
It's a correct context.
The apology is accepted, Honorable Member.
Ngixolisa kubaba uNtuli kakhulu ngoba angimthukanga umhlonishwa.
Honorable
Ngichazile egcineni ukuthi research kuyiphumela kunga researchwanga.
Honorable,
Apologies accepted.
Honorable Shongwe is humbling himself before you.
I
I
accept the
understand ngiyazwela
apology.
Chair ngiya understand.
Nami I accept unconditionally.
Amen. Uyakhumbula mhlonishwa sise tendeni leli ngalela lishayisa ngomoya usithembisa inamba ye call center wathi uzosibuyela nayo.
Yes, ngiyakhumbula.
Wayithola
Yes.
wabuya nayo wasinika lela langa lela.
Inamba inkinga issue mangikhumbula kahle mhlawumbe ke ngiyakhohlwa ukuthi iyasebenza noma ayisebenzi. Inamba ngayinikeza kwasoba ukuthi ziyasebenza yini. Now abanye babethi ayisebenzi abanye bethi ziyasebenza ngaphuma
Wena wawuthini mphathi? Wawukubaphi kulaba
ngathi
babili?
ziyasebenza.
Okay.
Ngaphuma ngafona yangasebenza inamba ngacheck ukuthi yini ngasebenzi kwathiwa babili abantu abasebenza kule call center kwathiwa oyedwa ubeme passage ekhuluma nocingo oyedwa ubese bathroom so bengekho umuntu okoperation ngase ngithi abayivale leyo nto ngoba ingenzela ihlazo kubantu kanti abantu bakhona babili ukunje omunye use passage ngalesikhathi kufuna ulibele ucingo omunye use bathroom ngase ngithi akube khona umuntu okhona ngaso sonke isikhathi kwenzeka kanjalo.
Ngifikela umbuzo ukuthi ngibuza ukuthi inhloboni yefone le wakuyi cellphone eyodwa yini for the country yonke?
No, kwakunabantu ababili e-call center. So, lo oqala kwathiwa ngesikhathi ngifona mina ngicheck ukuthi naba abantu befona kodwa ucingo lithathwa umuntu kwathi ubese passage ekhuluma ucingo lakhe omunye ubese bathroom.
So uchaza ukuthi bathi kuwena yakhala le phone but azange ibanjwe.
Ifoni yase call center yakhala. Yes, yangabanjwa ngoba akho umuntu.
Ngicela ukusho mina ukuthi le phone engasebenzi mphathi azange ikhale. Wena wake wayihlola wena ngokwakho?
Angithi ngiqale lapho ngayihlola yakhala yangabanjwa ngase ngifonela ke izikhulu zabo ukuthi nakho ngifona la umuntu engalibamba ucingo kanti ama members eParliament athi kukhona inkinga la sengiyaphuma ke ngiya ngemuva kwetende ngiyafona ucingo alithathwa umuntu sengifonela ke isikhulu kwenziwa yini ucingo lungasebenzi bathi hey bazo check isikashana base bethi hayi omunye ubese passage omunye ese bathroom, that's why belungathathwa umuntu kodwa belikhala.
Angisebenzisa igama elithi tendency bengizothi umkhuba manje honorable chief ebuzolimala alithathe kabi. Lona mkhuba uyawubona ukuthi umningana la kuwena ezintweni oyikhuluma zingahlolwanga bese ziyohlolwa ngamuva.
Njengakuphi?
Case ekacece wathi igazi lithathiwe.
Ngase ngiyachaza
Cha
ukuthi
mhlambe ungawuphendula wakho umbuzo wami uthi uyawubona lo mkhuba
Cha,
ukuthi uba
angiwuboni.
mningi. Owakho uthi ngachaza na.
Cha,
Wakho
angiwuboni.
umbuzo lo. Owami uthi uyawubona yini ukuthi lo mkhuba mningi. Umuntu ozophendula ukuthi ngachaza ukuthi umbuzo wakho uzothi wachaza na. So asike mhlambe silungise mphathi. Wami umbuzo uthi uyawubona lo mkhuba noma le tendency ukuthi kuwena kuyakhulumeka bese kubuya ngamuva kuyalungiswa.
Cha, angiwuboni njengomkhuba kodwa ngiyabona ukuthi kuke kwenzeke kube kanjalo.
Kaningana. Mhlambe konke mhlawumbe sithi konke nje kule ngiyibuze la.
Kusho ukuthi usuyayiphendula manje
Cha
mhlawumbe.
kuyabuza ngithi sithi mhlawumbe konke noma
Eyami impendulo ithi kuyenzeka.
ngiyabonga. Ukangakanani ukuthi kena mhla ka 31 mubhala lencwadi. Kwakunale nkinga yokuthi wawungakahleleki kahle wawungakahlelelwa kahle ukuphenduleka mhlawumbe uthola information ephelele. Wasuthatha lesinqumo ukuphuthuma kuze kungene lo immediately disband.
Cha, incwadi engayibhala isemthethweni futhi isebenza ngaphakathi kumthetho sisekelo. Udaba luka immediate lukhulunyiwe ngomyalo kaSihlalo ngicabanga ukuthi silisongile kodwa uma ufuna ngiliqale phansi ngingaliqala. Cha,
Ngiyasaba ungayicali mphathi wena ukhuthele ungayilanda yiyo ngayisa kude kakhulu. Kodwa angu interject mhlawumbe for the sake of isikhathi.
Okay.
Uma ngicela ungisiza la ngescenario.
Okay.
Uma umuntu ezothi start a process of disbanding iPKTT immediately. Wena makuwukuthi wena uGeneral Sibiya uhlele lapho. No angasebenzisa uGeneral Sibiya ngisebenzisa umuntu ongathi uyacabangeka. Ubaba Mkhwanazi mhlawumbe uGeneral Mkhwanazi uthi lapho ngikunika instruction mina nguMinister Mkhulu. Start a process of disbanding this PKTT team. What would you do? What does it mean to you?
It means you have received.
Ufakile immediately. Ngixolisa ungafaka immediately. Start a process of disbanding iPKTT immediately. What would you do?
Angithi 5:20 ebusuku. Uzofunda incwadi understand ukuthi nayi incwadi isho njalo kodwa ke isikhathi 5:20 awuke office. Okusho ukuthi usuyifundile uyayizwa kodwa ayikho into ongayenza njengamanje. Uyenza until kube khona isikhathi ukwazi ukuyenza. Leyo nto manga kusasa kumhla ka1 ama office evaliwe kusho ukuthi awukakwazi ngoba kuvaliwe ukuyenza koze kube la khona kuba khona into ethi ingenzeka.
Then umuntu mayezothi disband immediately. Ubuzo wenzani? Success or 5:30.
Angithi yikho lokho engikuphendulayo ukuthi uphethe incwadi ethi immediately.
Mhlamba ngiphinde mphathi wami mhlamba ngizwanga.
Cha
Nice.
ngizwile.
Okay.
5:20 ntambama mhla ka 31.
Yes.
Uyithola incwadi ethi immediately. Bhala bese ethi immediately. Oh okay. Akho team phela phambi kwakho ukuthi thatha ucelemba uhlakaza. Kumele uye office livaliwe umhla ka 31. Lisazovalwa futhi nangomhla ka1. Mhlawumbe uzozuya office ngomhla ka2 noma ngomhla ka3. Bese uqala ke iprocess uqala ngokuqalwa ngakho uze ngokulandelayo.
That is when you are doing a process of disband, right? That's a process
Yes.
immediately.
Yes.
And you have started immediately. Awulindanga.
Yes.
Siyavumelana.
Ngoba nje bekuvaliwe
Yes.
ema-office.
So uma uyithole 5:30 namhlanje nge-31st iletha bese ke mhlawumbe sithi ngiyabekisa nge-2 iMonday and you are supposed to report at work. You get a letter that says disband the PKTT immediately. What would you do in that regard?
Angithi ngizoqala i-process.
No. Ngangihlukanise. Start the process of disbanding PKTT. That's a question on its own. Sidlulile kuleyo. The process is low. Now this one says disband PKTT immediately. Doesn't that make PKTT with immediately after the letter? Muqala nje instructor give instructions uthi valani kuyavalwa lento kuyavalwa. Doesn't that give that qualification?
Cha ngeke ukwazi ukwenza kanjalo. Kufuneka ukuthi uqale ungakwazi ukwenza ngeprocess. Uqale wazisa abantu aba relevant. Nixoxe futhi ukuthi nizoqala kanjani. Qhubeke kanjalo. Yiko nje ngithi ngeke nje uvela usuke nje.
Ushuthi kwasekuphuthuma ngaleyo ndlela leyo ukuthi ubungalinda ukuthi uvule emsebenzini unyaka ozayo ukuthi ubhalele incwadi ethi immediately.
So yiko ngabeka umhla ka20 ngathi kufanele kube ne report ebhalwayo esho ukuthi sizokwenza kanjani and so on umhla ka20 hayi ngakusasa.
Ngibuza ukuthi wawujaheni ungalinda umhla ka20 ubhange umhla ka20 ubhalele incwadi bese icala iprocess emva kamhla ka20 kwakujaheke yini yayijaheke ngaleso sikhathi leso.
Akukho la okubhalwe khona ukuthi kwakujahekile kubhalwe ukuthi ngomhla ka20 akube khona i-preliminary report. Akukho nje igama lethi
But to disband immediately khona.
yes ukhona
Kusho njalo.
kodwa report ibe mhla ka20.
Okay. Umuzoza la uzosinikeza lobufakazi mhlawumbe noma uzosibriefa la as parliamentarian.
Yes.
Ukuwahlangana nobaba uSibiya nathi ukushare ama notes enzosinika wona la.
Amanotsana.
Mhlawumbe into enzosikhuluma le briefing sayilelo. Le report enisinikeza yona. Nike nahlala mhlawumbe nathi mase ngibuza imibuzo mina ngizophendula kanje nabakubuze lo na uphendule kanje nami ngizophendula kanje.
Cha kaZisihlanu.
So kuza kanjani ukuthi eSouth Africa uwena nobaba uSibiya obhale ku statement sakhe uGeneral Sibiya. Ku statement sakhe ubhale ukuthi wamnikeze kukhona isinqumo esiphume lapha ya esithi must disband immediately and he even says now yena faka now yena. But uyabuya yena uyajika futhi useshintsha immediately usefana nowakho immediately uthi hayi immediately akamini uthi valani manje umina later. So kuza kanjani ukuthi no2 ikhuluma into ecishe ukufana kanti eqaleni ubeyibhale kahle uhamba nathi ama South Africans siyafana ngenkulumo sekujika mase kufika la.
Ngikwazi ukuphendula okwenziwe mina nokuphendula umbuzo obhekiswe kumina mawusubhekisa kuSibiya nakumina ngesikhathi esisodwa kusho ukuthi phela ngizophendulela yena.
Awungaphendula lokwakho ukuthi kube icoincidence ukuthi kufane noma mhlawumbe awunibona nami.
Anginakho la ukaSibiya so angiboni ukuthi kufana kuphi nokwami kuphela njengamanje. Bengaze kulethe ukuthi nakho ukaSibiya nakho kwami.
Ngiyahluleka mphathi ngoba uhonorable chief whip uceda ukukhothela lento engikhulumela yona la manje awukushonga ukuthi awunayo lento leyo kuyena awushonga ukuthi awunayo kodwa uyiphendulile.
Cha uchazile uma ubumlalele kahle umhlonishwa uNtuli uthe uzongifundela izinto uzofika athi ku paragraph bani kunokuthi nokuthi ku paragraph bani wasenza kanjalo ngase ngiphendula into eqondile. Manje ke awenza kanje ngoba enzile.
Yikho ngiqolisele lokho mhlawumbe ke ngikhulumela kulelo phuzu akufundele lona ngibona ukuthi angingakufundeli lona ngoba ucede ulifundile. So ingakho ngibuza ukuthi kulowo mbuzo lo obaba uSibiya athe kuye immediately means now then later changes to into ayikhulumile ke wasethi usefana nowakho ku immediately later. Do you see the similarities and do you think it's a coincidence noma benihlangene nakhuluma?
Angiwaboni until kuze kube khona into okhuluma ngayo la kaSibiya nengikhuluma ngakho mina.
Ngicabanga ukuthi angeke kuthiwe suyeke immediately ngathi uyakulimaza impela immediately awufuni ukuvuma. Bengiya la.
Awukulimazi mhlonishwa. Kodwa ngithi ngiyafakaza manje ke kufanele ngifakaze ngento mina self ngingabuye bese ngithatheka nje okushiwo umhlonishwa bese ngikwenza ubufakazi bami angikwazi ukwenza njalo.
Uyawabamba yini ama-caucus namalunga wasesiphoyiseni laba abaphethe? Mhlawumbe uyaba nama-caucus nje umhabule eceleni nje.
Hayi kuba nemhlangano lapho hayi ama-caucus.
Into eformal.
Hayi kuba nemhlangano nje. Ngiba nomhlangano no-National Commissioner and ngasho ukuthi ngibambe imhlangano cishe ngaphezulu kwa9 no-National Commissioner one-on-one. Ngabamba 28 or more, so ile umhlangano ebakhona.
Kuba nama-minutes lapho kulomhlangano, kuba no-PA, secretary into enjalo.
Impela nje isikhathi esiningi kwenzeka kanjalo. Kodwa hayi mangino-National Commissioner siba sobabili akubabikho umuntu othatha ama-minutes.
Okay.
Masime kanjalo.
Uma uGeneral Sibiya ecela i-meeting ethi ithinta noMotlala nefamily. Sorry. Oh, icela ubaba Mkhwanazi, uGeneral Mkhwanazi, icela kwena i-meeting. Uma icela le meeting uthe wena uyinqabile because of ibinga qualify according to the structure mhlawumbe ovuma ngaso noma angisakhumbula impendulo yakho kodwa ibingalapho mhlawumbe ungangikhumbuza kancane.
Angishongo ukuthi nganqaba. Ngithe ngawuthola umyalezo ngaphendula ngase ngiyacabangisisa ukuthi sizoyimisa kanjani le ndaba. Ngase ngiyimisa ngendlela engangibona ukuthi ngokwelami uhlangothi kuzofanele ukuthi ngiyimise ngayo, ngiqale ngayo. Ngiqale ngo National Commissioner kanye no deputy wakhe. Ngize ku deputy wakhe ngize ku Provincial Commissioner bobabili ngoba ngabona ukuthi kungeke kwaba into ebulungiso noma ekahle ukuthi ngilande umuntu ongaphandle ngobantu abala ngizomfaka emhlanganweni ngoba hayi
ubani lo muntu ongaphandle? Umkhotsi. Okay. So uma sowuthatha i-meeting
mase ngithi ke ngobuye ngixoxe ke naye uGeneral Mkhwanazi masihlangana naye noSibiya ngathi hayi sobuye sithola isikhathi sixoxe. Ngangiqonde ukuthi ngomcela nje ukuthi wandonga lo mhlangano okhuluma ngawo sesingawubamba manje kodwa ngisafuna ukuthi ke ngiwubambe nawe ke ngizwe ukuthi yini le efaka ifamily wena nefamily le efaka internal kodwa ubona ukuthi singamisa kanjani ngoba lena ayizolunga ukuthi silande uBrown Mkhotsi ngaphandle mhlambe nano chief of staff kwenzeka kanjani.
Honorable Nomvalo.
Yeah, no, follow-up question, Chair. The Minister is saying he decided not to convene a meeting as suggested by or as requested by General Mkhwanazi. So he decided to have a meeting with the National Commissioner, subsequently with the Deputy National Commissioner. Now, the question is, what were you discussing with the National Commissioner in relation to a request of General Mkhwanazi? Because a reason for a meeting requested by General Mkhwanazi was known by General Mkhwanazi, not by the National Commissioner, not by the Deputy National Commissioner. So if I call a meeting, if I request a meeting from you, I don't even tell you an agenda of that meeting. And then you decide to convene a meeting with somebody else. What is it that exactly that you want to discuss with that person? Having not solicited a reason for my request from me as a person who requested for a meeting. I'm trying to get a logic of the approach that you decided to espouse.
At the meeting, I didn't say that I decided to have a meeting with General Masimula and then subsequent, as you say, with Sibiya. I decided that the approach would be I would meet General Masimula and General Sibiya together because I was aware of the challenges and so on between them. That is my decision, that one. And then I would have a meeting with General Spear and General Mkhwanazi, which I did. Manje ke, General Mkhwanazi didn't say instruction that I must carry. It was a proposal that there are certain issues, let's have a meeting. I think decide to reconfigure ngalendlela engayibeka ngayo. Ngase ngithi ke so besihlanganeke mina naye bese sixoxa ukuthi what are these other aspects. That was the logic that I came to.
Can I? No, Minister. So did General Mkhwanazi make an indication of the agenda that he intended to have in that meeting? A meeting that he wanted you guys to have? Did he share an agenda with you? To say, Minister, let's meet and discuss about A, B, C, and D.
Ayengekho agenda kwakumyalezo nje.
So why? Because according to the explanation that you have given, there is no nexus between a request of General Mkhwanazi and a meeting that you decided to convene with the National Commissioner. To discuss what with General, with General Masemola in relation to the request made by General Mkhwanazi. Because you didn't know, he didn't share the agenda with you. So you didn't know the items that he intended to put on the agenda during your meeting, had you consented to his request?
No, I don't think you are following the whole thing. I am saying I was aware of other matters, other challenges between the National Commissioner and the Deputy National Commissioner. Now, two, I've said the request was not an instruction that do this, do it this way. So, ngibona ngathi umhlonishwa is asking me as if you are about to say I broke the law for not carrying out what General Mkhwanazi was saying. It was a request, it was a proposal. Then I said when I met him with, on that day, Ndonga, lo amhlangano loya owukhulume ngayo sizobamba, namhlanje sizobamba lo. So, and there was nothing wrong with that. Nothing.
No, Minister, I think you are not reading my mind correctly. I'm not about to accuse you of refusing to convene a meeting requested by General Mkhwanazi. That's not even where I'm going. The point here that I want to solicit is, how did you anticipate what General Mkhwanazi wanted you to discuss about, having not met him firstly to establish the intention or his motive for a request for a meeting? You decide without even hearing what General Mkhwanazi wanted to meet you, wanted you guys to meet for. You just you ignore him and then you go to the National Commissioner. So there is actually no connection between, in my view, no connection between a meeting that you had with the National Commissioner and a request made by General Mkhwanazi. Because if you knew, if maybe General Mkhwanazi had put an agenda on the request to say, Minister, I want us to discuss about A, B, C, and D in specific terms, at least I would be in a better position to understand where you are coming from. But you didn't know, you don't even ask him, Uguti General, ufuna sikhulume ngani, you just go straight to the National Commissioner. And you claim before this committee that the reason why you met the National Commissioner is because you wanted to speak to him first in relation to a meeting requested by General Mkhwanazi. But Minister, if you insist on the response that you have given, there's absolutely nothing I can do.
Your window has expired.
Thank you, Chair. Ngoba kuche sengikhanyisela ilambu, Mhlonishwa, ngizobuza nje imibuzo nje ewu30 kuphela bese ngiyavala. Izoba u30 nje kuphela. Owokuqala mphathi wami. Njengominister uvumelekile ukuboshwa mawenza iphutha?
Bonwa.
Ukuboshwa. Noma mhlamba amaphoyisa analo ilungelo lokuthi akuseshe, akubophe umugangile or mayekusola ukuthi ugangile or azoseshe ekhaya. noma wena as a minister unento evimba ukuthi cha uminister akathintwa lapho?
Njengelunga leParliament uyazi ukuthi imithetho yasezweni laseNingizimu Afrika iapply kuwo wonke umuntu ngokulinganayo. I take it for granted ukuthi you know that. And so I confirm that.
So Mhlonishwa, kwenzekile ke ukuthi kuthiwe kwakho kufika amaphoyisa azosesha wajikiswa. Ajikiswe kanjani and esejikisiwe wenzeni ngaloko? Obani laba abajikisa amaphoyisa azosesha kwakho?
Ya manje indlela oqala ngayo uthafike kwakho kanti mina ngithe amaphoyisa afika esangweni le estate. Okay.
Eze kuba
Asiyiqondise lenkinga. Asefike ke esho ukuthi afuna ukuya la engihlala khona. Kwakhulunywa ngendlela nga-interview imuntu mina ngoba ukuthi ngempela lo wathini kodwa agcine ngangenanga ngoba ngiyathola nje sengithola ireport ukuthi amaphoyisa befikile angakwazi agcina esangweni.
lokuthi ajikisiwe mphathi uzwe nini? Uthole ni lo mbiko lo?
Ngezwe ngalela ngaye kade efike ngalo.
Ude kangakanani nesikhathi befike ngaso mhlawumbe?
Hayi noma ngakwazi ukusho ukuthi bebefike ngasiphi isikhathi mina ngizwa ngasiphi isikhathi kodwa bafika ekseni ngezwe nje nami kwakusesekuseni kodwa
Wakhola ukuthi amaphoyisa yini?
ukuthi kade kufika amaphoyisa yini
Ehe.
akithi inkulumo yayisho njalo.
Sesho ukuthi wena wakholwa yini mphathi?
Ukukholwa nokungakholwa angaze ngifinyelele kukho engafinyelela khona ukuthi ngilalela inkulumo la afikile kwase kuthiwana awakwazanga ungena ajikile ngase ngithi okay.
Mhlawumbe mangabuza mphathi into yanini lesikhuluma ngayo?
Asanoma umhla ka9 October noma kodwa nje
umuntu wase South Africa yini emele ayifunde kulesi sigameko kuwe? Makufika amaphoyisa noma egcekeni lakhe amfuna. Melenze njani? Akafundeni ukuthi angalinda uzawabona next month ngoba ubhizi kakhulu or uzophuthuma yekona. Yini emele ayifunde njengominister wamaphoyisa? Uma kufike nje umuntu unga-advise abantu ukuthi hey makufika amaphoyisa kwakho ekufuna. Unga-advise uthini lapho?
Ake ngenze i-background kahle ukuze sikhulume into esikuyo ngendlela eyi-1. Amaphoyisa aqale aya emzini othize ngenhloso yokuyobona uNkabinde. Athola ukuthi kuleyo ndawo aya kuyona akekho uNkabinde khona omunye umuntu. Amaphoyisa ke asiyamthatha ke lo muntu athi awabakhombise la uNkabinde ahlala khona. Aya afika ngakwazi ukungena lapha ehlala khona ngoba ngokulandisa kwento engayizwayo afika avinjwa kuleyo estate esangweni ngoba kukhona izinto ezazingekho ayengakaze ayikhombise kwazi ukufika lapho uqala kokuyi search warrant yayingekho. Okwesibili babengazi ukuthi baya kumuphi umuzi and akekho umuntu owayezobachazela base bethi laba basesangweni yabona mawungena la ungena ngoba wazi ukuthi uya kumuphi umuzi manje neya kumuphi umuzi bathola ukuthi abazi ukuthi uNkabinde uhlalaphi base ke bephindele emuva manje ke ikhona ke
sengizovala. Sorry ungiphazamisile uChair, angazi noma uyakudefenda or uyangiphazamisa ngathi kodwa.
Manje ke ngakusasa asevukela kule ndawo engihlala kuyona. Angiyizwa indaba mangilalela kahle ukuthi afika akhipha i-search warrant asethi siyemzini othize. Angiyizwa leyo ndaba. So kusho ukuthi ke isimo sodaba simi kanjalo Mhlonishwa sisonke akumina onqabayo akumina onayiphi inkinga kodwa kusho ukuthi uma kuukuthi babefike lapha engihlala khona njengoba babefike kwaNkabinde kusho ukuthi babe ngayiphethe incwadi bavumelayo ukuthi kumele bangene. So into efuna ifundwe abantu baseNingizimu Afrika ukuthi amaphoyisa awavunyelwe ukungena kwakhe eyadini engayiphethe ethi azosesha engayiphethe i-search warrant.
Uma ekuhloniphile wangangena awusayengani kuwona uyohlola uyobuza ukuthi ningifunelani madoda. Angifake mphathi wami umbuzo wami wokugcina.
Kwathiwa hambile.
Excuse phathi?
Kwathiwa sehambile.
Wena wangaye police station.
Kuyiphi police station? Akuyona police
Abashongo
station.
lutho.
Akuyona police station ezongifuna kwakwamaphoyisa. Kwathiwa ahambile.
Awashongo ukuthi amaphoyisa akephi.
Hayi cha bangitshelanga.
Okay. Angibuze umbuzo wami wokugcina ushiye sengisuse esihlalweni. Lo nguthunywe abantu base South Africa. Bathe ngubuza ukuthi since waba uminister icondition yamaphoyisa injani since waba uminister wena, and do you think there is political interference? Sengivala, would you re-employ uGeneral Mkhwanazi njengoba icontract yakhe izophela? Ngiyabonga.
Okay. Angiqale ngalombuzo wokugcina uminister akam-employ uprovincial commissioner.
Would you recommend?
Cha, uminister kanalo iqhaza lokurecommenda okusemthethweni. Analo iqhaza libambayo. Uma ufuna ukuchazela ukuthi ungena phi minister, uminister uprovincial commissioner appoint national commissioner a consult no premier. Uma bengavumelani la ungena khona uminister akafiki ke lelo thuba. Okwesibili injani icondition angazi ke kahle ukuthi usho ukuthini ngecondition. Kodwa ukusebenza nje kukonke akuyona into engiyithatha ngokuthi isezingeni ongathola ukuthi lingaba kuyona. Kuningi okusafanele ukuthi kwenziwe ukuzama ukubhekana nenselelo zomphakathi mayelana nezokuphepha. Kuseneyikhala ke eziningi lapho njengoba nje abantu bekhala ukuthi abaphephile indawo ngeendawo la eSouth Africa. Kwezinye indawo kufiwa nje kakhulu ikakhulukazi lama province amane iWestern Cape neEastern Cape bese kuba iKwaZulu Natal neGauteng. Ilawo ama province okufikwa kuona kusho ukuthi isimo ke sethu sokubhekana nalengwadla hayi asikho ezingeni elifanele okwamanje kusafanele sisebenze kanzima. Angisazi umunye umbuzo wesithathu
Cha usuke wathatha wakho umbuzo umphathi awufaka kuwena manje wangaphenduleka lo wami. Angubuza mhlambe njengoba umchunu, would you nje personally would you recommend, or without ubu minister would you recommend wena personally ukuthi angacashwa yini ubaba uMkhwanazi as a citizen nje? Do you think uyiphoyise right singachubeka simcashe noma as a citizen? Wena uphendulele uminister.
Ngiphendule ngoba angikwazi ukuthi angikuyena manje ufuna ungifaka entweni wena engenalo iqhaza kulo kodwa ufuna ungifaka ngewindi manje angikwazi ukungena kuleli windi lincane kakhulu lelo ngifaka kulo.
Okay, no, thank you so much. Thank you, Honorable Shongwe. Honorable Cameron, are you ready? If I can please pass the baton to you.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I wanted to start with a question of clarity on the word immediately, but I won't. No, I'm just joking, Chair. No, we're not going to go into immediately now. Minister, firstly, thank you for your patience and explaining the definition of immediately so many times, according to you. I'm going to jump to something that we haven't actually spoken about that much today, and that is the irregularity of the Medicare 24 contract. I want to firstly start by asking you when you first picked up on the irregularity regarding the Medicare 24 contract, so that for the record. And is it something that your office discovered internally, or is it something that came to your attention otherwise?
On the 20th of December last year, we were due to fly from Cape Town to Durban. And when I left the house where I stay, I then read in my cell phone and found an article written by News 24. And it caught my eyes because there was subs, then there was a contract, as you mentioned it. So I read the whole article. It was freely available. And the way it was written, it looked factual. I mean, that's the impression I got. And then on our way, with the National Commission and other people, I then shared the article with the national chair, with the national commissioner. I gave him my cell to say, are you aware of this national commissioner? And he read it. And he said, yeah, no, I know about this. And I did check whether everything was done properly. And the people said, yes, it was done properly. And then, or awarded properly. And then he said, but if minister wants to get a briefing, I can organize a briefing. And then I said, please, let's organize a briefing. And indeed, that briefing was organized.
Thank you, Minister. In this specific case, and you'll see where I'm getting at now regarding procurement matters, can you share with us what has been the impact on police members, if at all, and whether they're still receiving the service that they should receive? Obviously, if you take the space of time that you've been, not been in office, been suspended, you don't need to comment on that, but before that maybe, and how has this gap been managed on the ground?
Now first, so let me conclude. I left without saying whether it was discovered internal, but it's self-explanatory to what I've just said.
Sure.
Now, how they are closing the gap, I don't know, because surely it would take some time before another service provider gets provided, but I'm not sure about it.
Thank you, Minister. So the reason I'm starting with the Medicare questions is just because I think there's a bigger problem with regards to procurement. Medicare is a very good recent example. In the recent Auditor General reports, we saw that SAPS incurred over 649 million rands worth of irregular expenditure due to non-compliance with procurement laws. That's a 140% increase from the previous year. Why, in your opinion, has there been such a sharp rise despite prior commitments to tighten controls for procurement?
Irregular expenditure and other issues like wasteful expenditure are men and woman made. And they show, or they are an example of less than required attention to matters of procurement and finances generally. It means that there's something that SAPS are not doing and doing properly in terms of accounting for the finances of the department. There is no other explanation, because irregular expenditure doesn't come from anywhere. It comes from your hands, the way you handle money and the way you follow compliances. If you don't comply with prescripts of the PFMA, then that's a problem.
Thank you, Minister. I think for clarity's sake, the question I'm getting at is there an increase, that you pick up an increase in procurement-related corruption or alleged corruption in SAPS? Because when you look at these numbers, usually when there's this type of irregular expenditure, it points to significant corruption of some kind. And it's not the first time that this happens. So I want to ask you if, let me maybe give more context. Also in the Auditor General report, it shows almost 2.5 billion rand that was investigated with regards to irregular expenditure that has not been submitted for further action. But I want to refer to a report from the SIU from it's probably around 2022, 2023, that was presented to you and I believe your special advisor as well regarding SAP's PPE procurement during the COVID-19 period. Before I continue with the questions, are you aware of that report?
I'm aware of the report.
So Minister, the SIU investigation that was placed before you confirms that Mr. Molefi Fani, who I believe is currently, or he was Mr. Molefi Fani, at Treasury. He is now the Divisional Commissioner of Supply Chain Management in SAPS, was implicated in irregular SAPS PPE procurement during his tenure as the Chief Procurement Officer at National Treasury. You've been in office now for quite a few months. Obviously, we exclude the last month or two, and you're aware of these findings. What did you do to take steps in terms of Lieutenant General Fani being implicated in this significant corruption?
First, your first question that that deals with issues of irregularities and so on, whether it is a trend. This tender alone and the irregularities that accompanied it as it was awarded are quite a worrying factor looking at the figure, 360 million. It's not a small thing, and whoever would have approved it would have applied their mind and would have crossed all the T's and put all the dots on the I's and so on. Seemingly, it was not done. Now, I'm aware of the SIU report. I'm aware of its pointers. It's a matter that the accounting officer is aware of. Now, it's a matter I think we had a discussion on, if I'm not mistaken, to say what do we do with these matters. It points to two people. One is on suspension for a very, very extended period of more around 2 years or something like that, and then general fund. Let me just say that I don't think that the accounting officer has taken appropriate action, which would be either review the SIU report, either him or General Fund. Maybe it has happened now, I don't know, but I'm not aware of it having been taken. And it constitutes quite a problem that the SIU would have a report and then there would be nothing. But I can't recall whether we had a discussion with the National Commissioner, but it's likely that I did raise the matter with him.
Minister, and I say this respectfully, but I want to understand what action was taken from your office. You must understand from my point of view, firstly, we're running up to the BRRR process now in Parliament. We've got annual reports coming up. How do we grant any form of budget review or support any kind of budget review when we know that character is being implicated? I mean, the amount of money that we're speaking of with this specific case, I think it's close to 560 million rand. So it's not a small amount of money, it's significant. And, well, it should be seen as significant if it's a smaller amount as well. But the point is, the perception that is created with inaction is someone is either being protected or someone is actively not doing what they're meant to do to pursue this. So are you parking it in front of the door of the National Commissioner? If so, did you follow up with the National Commissioner? Because he's the accounting officer on this. Enlighten us, please.
It's just that I can't specifically remember whether we had a meeting and discussed the matter, but most probably we would have had the meeting where the matters would have been raised, and he would have, the matter would have been left to him as accounting officer. But I haven't been nagging him on the matter, and it probably remains an unresolved matter. But he may have handled the matter himself, engaged SIU, and maybe they settled the matter in one way or the other. So I can't say for sure.
Thank you, Minister. I think what we'll have to do from our side is invite them. We can do that on a police committee side, specifically to look into procurement. I want to move to annual performance plan related matters. So you're confirming to me that the divisional commissioner responsible for SAP's procurement remains in office, from what you know. That's from what I know as well. General Fani is still in office. Despite, well, under him being under SIU scrutiny, and that no interim safeguards were put in place to protect the procurement system that you know of.
But when we were doing the structure, the organization structure, reviewing it, we changed that and said matters of supply chain should happen under the CFO, because before it was separate. And when it comes to accounting, I thought that looseness, if I could use that word, would have contributed to some of these problems that you're talking about. So we migrated it. And I hope that in the structure that has been signed, I forgot to look at that particular one. We said it must be under CFO, because she deals with matters of finances already, and she should have an eye, even if it's a sub-unit, on what is happening there for control purposes. That is what we did.
Thank you, Minister. Minister, I think from my side, and that's why the reason why I use this as an example is that the whole Medicare Kat Matlala issue, in my opinion, wouldn't have easily arisen had this type of thing been handled with urgency. I mean, you can imagine, 500 million rand. I got a message now, the members doing training at Rudapla Training Academy don't have enough food for the members doing training at the academy with the K9 members. Now, something as simple as that, making sure that money is managed properly, even in terms of the smaller amounts, could have stopped this from happening. I constantly try to think what could have been done to prevent us from having to zoom in on this. Given the repeat findings over 5 consecutive years by the Auditor General, do you feel that consequence management mechanisms in SAPS are effective?
I don't think so, because I'm not aware of such steps or demonstration of such steps. But I know that there is a commitment or determination to improve. That's why one of the days we held an efficiency and effectiveness meeting to say CFO safeguard and accounting officer safeguard the finances, because we can only optimize on what we have and then be able to do more. So I'm hoping that there've since been tighter management of finances in the department than what has been happening.
So, Minister, now it comes to, and you can tell me if it's a mistake on your end or not, but in terms of the strategic plan and annual performance plan of SAPS, you signed on it, and there was specific mention of the professionalization of SAPS as one, and the eradication of corruption in SAPS. So, as 2, let's call them flagship priorities, or during your tenure. How do you reconcile those commitments with the failure from your office against a senior SAPS official like Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi, to a certain extent Lieutenant General Vuma, who's been on suspension for a very, very long time? How do you reconcile those written commitments with these procurement irregularities shown in the SIU investigation? I want to understand if your anti-corruption agenda is real, and if it is, why is it so slow?
Now, we were meant, as we started right to the end of the year and beginning of the year, to really focus, even though at the risk of operational vis-a-vis whatever ministerial powers. But it's something that you can't help in the light of those questions which we come across in Parliament. That's why I'm talking about one coin and two sides. It becomes inevitable that you engage, and depending on the response, matters become urgent, actions become drastic. It's one case, but we were meant to focus our attention on management of finance. And I think capacity is there to improve drastically on this. It's not like it's not there. But somehow it requires closer supervision, much more serious supervision, including from the side of the ministry, as opposed to saying, well, accounting officer is there and you leave it like that, because when things go wrong, he is not the only one. Questions like these ones come up and we're in a corner. And therefore, we were meant to follow up on those points in our strategic plan and particularly in our annual performance plan.
Thank you, Minister. I've got one more question regarding this. I want to understand, if we're speaking about professionalizing the police, in my opinion, it starts with integrity, and specifically integrity in leadership appointments. That's the most critical. We can't expect things on ground level to change if we've got questionable characters leading, supposedly leading in office. I would like to understand what message, according to you, does it send to close to 180,000 SAPS members, including administration, obviously, if a senior official, actually in this case several senior officials, are linked to procurement fraud and they remain in charge of those divisions? What message does that send in terms of accountability?
It does affect it lower, pointing to a lower direction rather than upwards. In other words, it doesn't inspire, it doesn't demonstrate that you are serious about these matters. And for that to be in place, you need to be one. You need to believe in one thing, all of you, ministry and top management of SAPS, that there needs to be changes and they need to be taken seriously. And that is what, rather than going on, taking things for granted, especially with the fortunes of, on the financial side, decreasing as it's happening, and we're more and more getting to be found wanting in terms of the quality of service, in some cases services itself. Like, you are quoting one example. It doesn't look good that there would be such and so on, but don't forget that I'm on leave. I don't want to get on matters when the acting minister is there, but generally speaking, that's not inspiring.
Fair, thank you, Minister. Minister, in terms of this whole procurement issue, I think that something that is frustrating to us is that we've really come to a point where we constantly hear the answer. We've actually heard this. General Sabia also pointed to that. The impression is created that we're okay with the current management structure. There are just minor oversight things that need to, let me make it clearer. We're okay with the individuals in senior management positions, and that there are, minor oversight functions that need to be improved. But I want to hear from you. Do you think it's time for the changing of the guard? Is it necessary for the South African Police Service, let's say the top 10, to be audited and possibly replaced?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily put it exactly the way you put it, but I spoke earlier on about the need to overhaul certain aspects and sections of SAPS. There is a need just to refresh and the organization. How you do it, it's a different matter, but that, because I think that sense of, a repetitive kind of stance on things is now at odds with what is expected either in Parliament or elsewhere, and therefore there is a need for some kind of action, whether it is in that form or in another form. But it's difficult, it's going to be more and more difficult to leave just things as they are and go on just like that.
Minister, if you were back in office tomorrow, figuratively speaking, what would you do regarding this specific matter, this SIU matter? If you know all of these people are still in their positions, what would you do if you're back in office tomorrow?
Well, it's to call for a report. Where are we with the SIU report? Because as I'm saying, I'm sitting here talking. There may have been things that have been done since I left, but that would be something to be found out, and then act on them. And I do note that it does require solidity of a certain level to get into those matters and correct them.
Minister, I want to jump to Mr. Cedric Nkabindi, his appointment. We've touched on it a lot. There are one or two questions, I think, for the record that are important. Just in terms of the process, I want to understand, did you go through any kind of do you know if there was any kind of a security clearance process with regards to Mr. Nkabindi? Did he get security clearance? Was there any kind of vetting process in terms of clearance?
That is a standard practice, and I take it, I'm risking here because I am not called for it to see it. But that's a standard practice that there should be vetting. It's one of the standard practices.
But you're not sure?
In the sense that I don't remember asking for it to see it. But this is not managed within. The employment of these people is not, of the staff in the ministry, is not necessarily managed within the ministry. It's managed by particular people in SAPS, and they are the ones who ensure compliance. I would need to talk to them to find out whether there is 100% compliance, but I take it that there is.
So, Chair, I think that's an important note for us for reporting on this, is that there is a serious gap in terms of due diligence being done, because I mean, surely, Minister, you want to know, you could be able to trust the person sitting next to you. And I don't want to cast an aspersion on Mr. Nkabindi,
Yes.
but his name pops up everywhere. So surely some kind of due diligence had to have been followed. In terms of his suitability to manage confidential policing and even intelligence information, did you have any indication outside of that security clearance that he was suitable to handle that he was trustworthy to handle that type of information?
Yes, in the sense that, well, even without necessarily doing any specific check, but before he came to work with us as chief of staff, he was working at forensics in a bank. I would imagine that he wouldn't have worked there without being checked and being certified in terms of suitability to deal with confidential matters. And before that, he was at IPID. Now, normally, you would take that experience and passage of time and him as a sign that there would have been confidence when he worked there in those matters, because these are sensitive areas of work.
Minister, respectfully, banks don't answer very positively in that sense anymore. I believe recently in Cape Town there were 2 cases of arms dealers that were found with large amounts of firearms in containers, and they were both employees, quite senior employees, I might add, of very well-renowned commercial banks. So my question comes back to that due diligence. I want to understand if he did not have security clearance, or if you're unsure about it, why was he granted access to such sensitive material?
Well, I don't say he doesn't have security clearance. I'm just saying that I didn't ask for it. I don't remember asking for it. But we've been discussing clearances of other people, and I take it that he has. And I take it that he has what it takes to be chief of staff and to handle. I haven't heard anything coming out negative about him up until this kind of upheaval, where what you're talking about then similarly is coming here and there on him. But before that, there was nothing.
Minister, yeah, the doubt, and it could be that SAPS or SSA slipped on it, and we'll be able to follow that up. But it can't be that a chief of staff comes into such a sensitive position, and we don't know whether that person has the clearance that they meant to have. And again, it's similar to the procurement issue. We could have potentially prevented a lot of the leaks and things that took place. Apart from a little bit of work experience at IPID, what skills specifically of Mr. Nkabindi stood out to you or convinced you that he should be capable of being in such a senior position in the ministry? In terms of, I'd say, more complex policing issues and even intelligence matters, because he would obviously have been exposed to that. He's really put into a position where he's in the belly of all the action. So, what specific experience apart from IPID stood out to you?
Yeah, firstly, I wouldn't want us to create an impression that the leaks that you are talking about, are referring to, from his part. We just park it like that without suggesting such. But to be specific on your question, I did talk about my experience of him at IPID, when he was at IPID, in terms of investigating the complaint that I had laid with IPID. What specifically impressed me was the detail in terms of how he went about doing this job and bring it to finality. I was quite impressed, and it was the first time I'd met him, and I felt that there was integrity throughout the process when it was done, and I was far from looking at ever working with him at that time, because I was at home, and therefore that is what I picked up at that time.
Has he ever issued any instructions or correspondence or directives to SAPS or IPID officials on your behalf?
No, not that I know, but at one point, we had I think a small discussion following a letter he had received from one of the members, and that he processed it to IDAC. I think it followed a little chart or something like that, but he sent it, but I can't recall any other instance where he signed in his name and sent a document out.
And Minister, was he involved in any way in the drafting or the timing? I understand that you went and gave the closing of the PKTT thought at home and so on, but did he play any role in the drafting or the timing or communication of the letter to disband the PKTT?
No, he just relayed things as I gave it to him. Have you received, sent to special advisor? Have you received, now you can then send it to specific people as indicated.
So Minister...
So it didn't play any role in drafting.
Okay. Do you still, I mean, at the moment, you're not actually sure if he has security clearance, right?
In the sense that I didn't see it. I don't recall asking for it.
Yeah, but you either know he has or he doesn't have.
Yes.
So do you still stand by your decision to appoint Mr. Nkabindi as the Chief of Staff to your office, given the concerns or the doubt in terms of his vetting background?
It's exactly what I'm trying to avoid, because I can't, on the basis of something that I'm not sure, to answer you specifically, and then I answer as if I am sure about your earlier question. And so I would want not to answer that particular question, but if I were to confirm and see his security clearance, that would be in the right direction to make me answer that question with confidence. But other aspects like qualifications and so on, and like stability in terms of being present at work all the time and following instructions, and not lapsing for a day or something like that. Of course, there's room for improvement, but he has stability as far as that's concerned, managing staff and so on. But to be specific on your answer, I would need to get that document.
Minister, so we can actually remove his name from it. To me, the fact that there's any doubt regarding this key person, the fact that you don't know and that you're not sure, is a cause for serious concern, because it means that there's a breach in terms of vetting and security of your office. It means that the potential leaks, and I'm not, again, remove his name from it. The point is that there could have been several other people that also didn't have clearance. And I want to say to you that if it is so that he didn't have security clearance, then obviously there's a significant breach. But if it is so that he does have security clearance and all of these leaks still occurred, then I would be seriously worried about the clearance process as well. The point is just that a chief of staff, you must know, he's either cleared or he's not, because if you're not vetted in such a sensitive position, especially with this drama that we're facing at the moment.
I take your point.
Thank you, Minister. Minister, I've got 4 or 5 last questions, but they're yes or no questions. I see the Chief Whip here from the corner of my eyes watching me, glaring at me. I can hear him whispering in Zulu to me. But I've got brief yes or no questions. The first one, yes or no, your affidavit explicitly states that the President agreed to close the PKTT.
Yes, it says so.
Yes or no? You issued the immediate disbandment letter without an approved transition plan.
Well, you will excuse me, I can't use yes or no there, but I will say, yes, there was a directive, but it pointed at a preliminary report because I couldn't go to somebody and say,
Fair.
give me a transitional plan before I did that.
Yes or no, Minister, you met or communicated with Brown Mkhwanazi or Kat Matlala in the 14 days surrounding the 31st of December?
I definitely didn't communicate with Mkhwanazi on the 31st. I haven't seen that.
Thank you, Minister. Yes or no, you will submit your devices or you will be willing to submit your devices for independent forensic review?
I would be more than willing to do so. And there's absolutely no reason why I shouldn't be willing to do so.
Then the last two, Minister, yes or no, you personally appointed Cedric Nkabindi without security clearance at the time?
I can't say so because of what I said earlier on, that I may be making an error to answer you directly on that because he may have, in terms of compliances that are required of him by the team that was handling his employment. I don't think they would have taken him without it, but I'm subject to confirmation or otherwise on this matter, because I don't do it myself, the employment part.
Let's check with Honorable Cameron because he was concluding.
Yeah,
then.
just on the question before of handing over the gadgets to whatever independent, you are willing to hand over the gadgets even to the police who were turned away at the gate if they've got the necessary requirements?
Yes, my yes applies to them exactly. Okay.
Sure. Minister, then my last question, and this is more a matter of opinion, it's not a yes or no question, and Chair, this is my last question, is do you think this whole drama, I keep calling it the drama, but is it a factional fight of sorts inside the South African Police Service, or is it really about drug cartels, or is it both? I would like to hear from you, and by this I'm not discrediting any theory at the moment. I don't want to, because there's still too much that we need to hear, and I also think a perception is created that a lot of this happened in the last 6 months, but if you listen to everyone that has spoken so far, things date back as far as when Minister Becky Cele was the National Commissioner, or we hear the names of Ria Piecha or Minister Nathi Mthethwa, former Minister Nathi Mthethwa. So I want to understand from you, in your just your opinion, what do you think is going on? What's the reason for all of this?
I would say it's a combination of factors. One, less than required coherence, unity and coherence on the side of police executive management or top management. Two, it would also include personal battles informed by one interest or the other over time, and then streamlining people into columns, as I would put it, in accordance with how they would have dealt with matters of differences and so on of one kind or the other. But more than that, what I would want to say in the ad hoc committee, to the ad hoc committee, is that it's an opportunity, this one, to correct, if I could use that word, what's wrong, to deal with it. It's an opportunity to face reality. And my reading or my assessment is that it can't be nice. It can't be nice. It's an upheaval period to which you have to apply your minds quickly and decide at the same time, but carefully, and so on, because it's an opportunity that otherwise wouldn't have just come walking to you. But you do need to seize the moment and seize the opportunity and correct the situation for the future.
Thank you, Minister. That's it from me, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Cameron, Honorable Malema.
Chair, my apology, before you give to SC or before we break, an apology to the colleagues. You know, I forgot to ask the minister if you know a guy called Jerry Boshoga. The mother sent me a message. He has been kidnapped from the 18th of November last year. And the allegation was such that Matlala had to do with it. And this case has been going on for some time. It's almost a year now. A person disappears, a high profile linked to Matlala, that Matlala is involved and all of that. And police seems to be helpless about the whole situation. I'm sorry if you don't know it, but it's a guy who has been kidnapped from 18 November 2024 until today. And the mother asked me to ask you, where is her son?
If I could just check, is it not someone from the East Rand in Gauteng?
Somewhere in Gauteng, there in Pretoria or something.
I can't suddenly recall the name, but in terms of where. But the name isn't unfamiliar, and the incident, I wanted to link it with the East Rand, a case that I would say I at some point came across it. Now, then to say that from where I sit, there's been progress on most of the cases. And I wouldn't have expected that we have an outstanding matter like this one for so long. And I know that in some cases, really, they've done a sterling job, these teams that deal with these matters, often risking their lives and so on. So they generally have been performing well, and so this one would be an exception. I would make an effort as a report back on your side that I would inquire with the minister to check for us, and I would revert to you. But I would need your number to revert. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Malema. I think this is a very, very serious matter. It's a matter of national concern, and we must take collective responsibility, all of us, that the police commissioner was here. And it escaped us. What we should do is see, let's write back to the police commissioner and request an explanation or a progress report. Even if it's just one paragraph or one page, I don't think it will be wrong for us to make that follow-up. These are some of the things that South Africans want to hear us doing, demonstrating that we can act on their behalf. Thank you very much, Honorable Member, for that decisive intervention. Honorable Skosana.
Thank you, Chair. Just before the SC, the minister in that recording which was played here, it said it is a common cause that General Khan, who has previously been accused in drug operations, if you can clarify, because it was played here, being accused in a...
Let me check with you. because I thought you are asking a clarity-seeking question based on the matters that Honorable Cameron was raising. Because if you do this, it means I must now open to all members to come back with any matter that.
Let me make things easy for you, Chair. We will ask the next one.
Okay.
Yeah, because the person who was quoted here is still coming as well beside the minister. Because that recording, which we didn't get that thread, there was an issue as well in that. So I wanted clarity, but if you say that you will open up, it's okay.
Yeah, thank you so much. Minister, Honorable Minister, before I give to the SC, just to pass the following. General Mkhwanazi, when he appeared before us, he stated here that he could not conclude that you were a corrupt person. And secondly, that the Edward Senzo Mkhunu that he knew would not have signed the letter to disband the PKTT or the NPKTT. The Edward Senzo Mkhunu that he knew. So when a statement like this one is put to you, is it your understanding that General Mkhwanazi had a high regard for you? Number one, he says that, look, where I am, I can conclude that Minister Mkhunu is a corrupt person. Number two, the personality that I know, sitting here, I'm still not convinced that he could sign or put his signature on a document like this one. Do you understand him to be a person who had a high regard for you?
Well, Chair, it's quite a difficult question to be fair, to say, I know so and so, he has a high regard for me. So and so has a high regard or lower regard. Normally, we don't accord such accolades to ourselves. But to the extent that you're asking me a question, I have no reason to believe or to think that General Mkhwanazi would have, especially with the second one, he would have meant that he has less regard or even undermining me for signing the letter or for having written and signed the letter. So I would want to respond like that for now.
Let me check you as a public representative. And you have deposed it here that the intervention was publicly announced that there are political killings in this province who are going to do something about it. And the Honorable Cameron has asked you about a transition plan to say, when that decision was taken and communicated, has there been an effort as a public representative to go back to those communities that have been affected to say to them, look, we have decided the way we did, and this is how we are going to deal with all those matters going forward? Has there been any initiative like that one?
Not as yet, Chair.
Not as yet. The last question, Honorable Minister, would be 2 months, and I'm taking from what you have said, 2 months after the decision has been taken, a briefing with the president happened. Am I correct? It might have been 2 months or less, because I remember you said something like February or March.
Yes.
Yeah. Had the president disagreed, because the record we have is that the president has agreed. Had the president disagreed, were you going to reverse the decision?
Definitely.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your answers.